Hey everyone, and welcome back to Trend Drive. Nothing gets the blood pumping like watching your favorite athletes compete for prize and glory. But when everyone is looking for a competitive edge, some athletes take it too far. In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 athletes who got caught cheating in their respective sports. Sports fans, brace yourself. But before we get onto that, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps us out a lot. Also, make sure to stay until number 1 to see the athletes that will forever go down as some of sports' biggest cheaters. You won't believe what they did. And without any further ado, let's get on to the video. Number 5. Sammy Sosa. In the world of professional baseball, the late 90s and early 2000s were marred by what has become known as the steroid era. If you are a fan of the game, then you know there are absolutely no more exciting times to watch. Mark McGwire hitting 70 home runs in a season, breaking the previous record of 61 held by Roger Maris. Barry Bonds hitting 73 home runs in a season to break McGwire's record. Jose Canseco sending balls out of the park. It was an exhilarating time. Of course, they were all on steroids. But regardless, it sure was a blast to watch. But in an era of performance-enhancing drugs and cheating, there was one person who stood out from the sea of cheaters. At the height of this era were the home run races between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. These were so exciting and so close that Sosa decided that he needed to take cheating to a whole new level. On June 3, 2003, in a game against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Sosa, a member of the Chicago Cubs, hit a ground ball to second base, shattering his bat in the process. After taking a look over the broken bat, umpires found that it had been hollowed out and a cork had been placed inside, allowing for more speed when swinging. Though the Cubs went on to win the game by a score of 3-2, Sosa was ejected and suspended for 8 games. His excuse? The bat was for practice and was never supposed to make it onto the field. We'll let you be the judge of that. Number 4. Black Sox. Our next cheater, or group of cheaters I should say, did their damage 100 years ago in 1919. The Chicago White Sox found themselves matched up against the Cincinnati Reds in what was then a 9-game World Series. Chicago was heavily favored to beat Cincinnati in the books, but red flags were raised when some gamblers started to bet large amounts on the Reds. The White Sox went on to lose the series in 8 games, and it wasn't until almost a year later that prosecutors turned their attention towards the possibility that the World Series had been fixed. The 8 players involved confessed to their wrongdoings, but were eventually not guilty because of the fact that the prosecutors' paper records of the confessions magically disappeared. Despite being found innocent of all criminal charges, all 8 players received a lifetime ban from baseball, earning them the much-deserved name of the Black Sox. You may be asking, why isn't an atrocity such as this higher on the list? They rigged the World Series, the championship event of the USA's oldest pastime. While you are correct in your astonishment, this took place in a time where technology that we know today was not around and regulations against this sort of thing didn't exist. I have to imagine it was quite easy to get away with something like this. There's no telling how many games were fixed back then. You could never get away with this in today's society. Or could you? Number 3. Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong has been arguably the most famous name in the history of competitive cycling for a multitude of reasons, depending on what time period you're talking about. As a young man, he was a cycling prodigy before testicular cancer temporarily stopped his career in 1996. After heroically beating cancer, he went on to win an unprecedented 7 straight Tour de France titles from 1999 to 2005. It was one of the greatest comebacks in sports history, but that's not why he's on this list. For much of Armstrong's career, rumors of doping surrounded the athlete, some stemming as far back as 1998. Over the years, he denied. The truth caught up to him. In 2012, following an almost 2-year investigation, the USADA accused Armstrong of doping. After deciding to not appeal USADA's decision, Armstrong was handed down a lifetime ban from the sport, though still public maintaining his innocence. As a result of the ban, many large sponsors, such as Nike and Anheuser-Busch, cut ties with the former cyclist. It wasn't until an interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2013 that Armstrong fully admitted his guilt. As much as Lance lied and cheated, this one wasn't all bad. The Livestrong Foundation, Armstrong's foundation to help those affected by cancer, has raised over $470 million to fight cancer since it opened its doors back in 1997. You've got to take the good with the bad, I guess. Number 2. Rosie Ruiz. The Boston Marathon is one of the oldest and most famous marathons in the world, beginning all the way back in 1897. Since then, it has gone from a local competition to an event where records are broken and runners come from all over the world to write their name in the history books. Rosie Ruiz immigrated from Cuba to New York to do just that, finishing 11th in the New York Marathon and qualifying for the Boston Marathon. Things started to look fishy almost immediately when Ruiz won the Boston Marathon, while improving her time by an ungodly 25 minutes in only 6 months of training since the New York Marathon. Spectators at the time said that many things seemed off about this woman, like how she was not sweating or panting, and that she couldn't answer questions about very many details along the course. Even weirder, other runners had no recollection of even seeing Ruiz on the trail. It wasn't too long after that, a woman came forward saying that she had met Ruiz on the subway of all places at the time that she was supposedly running the New York Marathon. Following an investigation, no evidence was found that Ruiz ran either of those races at all, and very well may have just shown up near the finish line for both. She was disqualified from both races, and though she maintained her innocence until her death earlier this year, her story seems highly unlikely. Number 1. Spain's Paralympic basketball team. Well, we've made it to number 1, and if all this cheating hasn't made you sick to your stomach yet, then just wait till you hear this one. At the 2000 Paralympics in Sydney, the Spanish intellectually disabled basketball team took home the gold, beating Russia in the championship game by 24 points. Viva la España, right? Wrong. As the pictures of the gold medal winners began to be published by Spanish sports media, reports started to come in from people claiming to know that certain men on the team weren't handicapped. In November later that year, Carlos Ribogorta, one of the members of the Spanish basketball team, publicly admitted that he was not mentally or physically handicapped at all. In fact, he was quoted as saying, "Of the 200 Spanish athletes at Sydney, at least 15 of them had no type of physical or mental handicap." An investigation concluded that only 2 members of the 12-man basketball team met the IQ requirements to be classified as mentally handicapped, while the other 10 men were only pretending. Not only were they ordered to return their medals, but intellectually disabled sports were actually banned from the Paralympic Games until 2009, citing the difficulty in testing athletes for mental disabilities. All I know is that these men rigged the Paralympics, easily earning them the number 1 spot on this list as the worst cheaters of all time. Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed this gut-wrenching list. While you're here, go ahead and click on the links above to check out some of our other awesome athlete cheating videos. Also, don't forget to click like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.